Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second podcast from Reekolect and Building Our Digital Legacy. My name is Juan Carlos Silva, JC, and I am the Director of Business Development for Reekolect, and I'm here with...
Daniel Sanchez, CEO and founder of Reekolect.
He's the big boss.
There you go.
That's what we know him as. So what are we talking about today, Danny? What did we talk about last time? I think everybody wants to just give them a little recap.
Absolutely. Let's recap a little bit about the last episode. Last episode, we were discussing what a digital legacy is. And essentially, in a nutshell, all the digital footprint that you have that will stay and remain even after you've passed away, which is a lot, especially nowadays. Absolutely. So with that, we were discussing the cultural significance, the emotional value, and as well as how important it is for future generations, right? So we definitely got into a deep dive into that. Now, this episode, what I'd like to do is discuss how Reekolect will play such an important role in being able to preserve those digital legacies for our users. And we'll touch up on some of the ethical questions revolving around that.
Digital preservation the Reekolect way.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very different.
Exactly.
Very different from what's out there.
Very different, very different, absolutely. So I guess let's go ahead and start off right off the back. Let's discuss a little bit about the Reekolect app, right? And how this particular platform is helping preserve cultures and overall memories and memory preservation for our users.
Now, would you say it's a social media app?
No, no, very clear. It is not a social media app. Reekolect is a memory preservation, so a social preservation network. Okay. Very different. Let me explain. So when we're talking about social media, right? Right now, people are taking content, all forms and variety of content that don't really have to dive into. But the point of it is just simply display the content, get likes, get views, and have some comments.
Popularity contest.
Exactly.
On the, out of the real world there.
I'm sure you've had your fair share of going to dinners.
I'm not popular. I don't have any of that, but I get you.
Absolutely.
But I do have a wife.
There you go.
Who is always taking pictures of the drink she's about to have.
There you go.
And how it looks and putting it on her stories and all that. So yeah, I get you.
Everyone's a professional photographer now. So.
Everybody.
So what differentiates Reekolect as a social preservation network is that our goal is to change the way we not only revolutionize the way we connect and remember, but also how we capture those memories and preserve those memories. So it's a platform designed for just that, to really emphasize the feeling, the experience that you had in that particular moment. Where I feel right now, social media is so focused on, does the picture look good? Does the drink look good? Right. How many likes, how many comments do I have? On the Reekolect platform, it's meant to really capture the context and the actual experience.
Well, and I think the Reekolect app is, to your point, if my wife is capturing a drink or whatever, she's doing it. It's for the masses to put out there. And on the Reekolect side, it would be, that's part of who she is, exactly. What she's doing, what drink she likes, the enjoyment she got out of that moment. And that's probably where the difference lies.
I agree. Absolutely. And we definitely, in one aspect with the Reekolect that I also want to completely change and differentiate from social media, I feel now that even though we have so much hyperconnectivity when it comes to social media, I feel like we've lost the purpose of capturing content. It's now about the likes. It's about the comments. It's about how many views did I get on that reel versus did I enjoy myself? Did I capture an amazing moment with my family, with my relatives, with my friends? And that's where we're striving to really reshape and rethink the way we capture content on the Reekolect app.
And I would venture to say that many of us, if we look at our social media profile and what our page looks like on IG or TikTok or anything else, is probably very different from what our digital photo album looks on our phone.
Exactly.
Not only who we talk to, who we engage with, but how we do it. And I think that's the purpose of our app, is to keep those real to who we are.
I agree.
And I think that's the beauty of what we're trying to do here.
And that's actually a great point that I want to highlight, right? If you look at someone's gallery, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this, what you put up for social media is this more refined, dare I say, superficial way of really
superficial,
right?
Yeah.
Way of putting up content versus what we want is that we do want that organic, natural, almost raw experience that you're having.
Who you really are.
And who you really are as an individual.
Well, because at the end of the day, like we were talking in our first episode about the legacy we're leaving behind, I want, my grandkids and great-grandkids and anybody that's interested in who I was to be able to remember me for who I really was and not what I was portrayed by.
Exactly.
With social media the way it is.
Authenticity there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
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 Now, I think...
Go ahead.
with Reekolect, I know we're trying to do something a little bit different. We
Yes.
have our own way of doing that.
Right.
You'd like to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, absolutely. I'd like to talk a little bit about our unique features
Yep.
that we have on the application itself. So aside from capturing what's currently happening with our users and preserving those memories and so far, we also want to be able to preserve the past and what's happened, and as well as be able to think about the future generations that come by. So some of the unique features that we have on our particular application, one that stands out as our flagship feature is our CBT technology.
What is it again?
CBT
I
technology.
want people to remember that CBT. I mean, that's going to be powerful in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
The CBT technology, or what it stands for, the acronym is Conversations Beyond Time. And let me elaborate a little bit, because the name of the technology itself, trademark by the way, the technology itself.
Do I have to say trademark?
You don't have to, but just so they know, they know.
Just making sure. I want to make sure we get our props in.
Exactly. So the reason why this piece of technology is going to be so profound, so important, so it allows us to really differentiate us from any other platform that's out there, is the reason that, just as the name implies, it's meant to have conversations beyond time. Let me explain what I mean by that. In essence, what we want our users to be able to do is get photos, videos, and as well as audio files of a deceased loved one, be able to input that information, and then generate a digital avatar of a deceased loved one. So that's what happens, right?
We'll be honest, that's a little intimidating for some of us.
It is. And we'll definitely discuss that a little bit further more. But, that's in essence what the technology will do. Then from there, we'll generate a digital avatar
Now,
that we'll be
I
able
would
to
imagine
engage
if
with.
it's something I can do myself, it's going to be that much more powerful than relying on pre-existing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that's the goal there as well. So the technology itself is not only to be able to preserve, a deceased loved one that we have, but also think about our own digital legacy and how that's going to be preserved for our future generation. What I mean by that meaning is that then you now start to capture audio, video, and photo in a different way, understanding that it can be applied towards yourself.
Now, don't mean to cut you off, but I have a very, very scary question. Does that involve AI?
It does involve AI, absolutely.
And should I trust that?
You should trust it
The way we're doing
it. The way we're doing it, absolutely, because of our ethical standards. Now, that's where we want to differentiate ourselves from everyone else in the market. But yes, it does leverage AI to be able to put all this information together, reconstruct the digital avatar, and then the other piece of that is being able to engage with the digital avatar.
And I think it's important. We talk about AI, and a lot of people talk about AI like it's something scary. And in reality, AI is a part of our everyday life right now.
Yes, it is.
And it's just being able, I think what we're trying to do at Reekolect is taking that technology and empowering ourselves and the user to use AI to portray themselves in a way that they want to be portrayed.
I agree.
Which is very powerful.
I agree. And I feel that a lot of people are scared. And if I can make this side note, a lot of people feel that AI is going to be this Terminator style type of technology that's going to come in.
It was an old one. But it's a good one. That's why people keep saying that.
I love Arnold. He was great. But with that, a lot of people feel this fear of AI, that it's going to take over, go in and hack into this and that. And yes, to some degree, I do understand that there are certain threats that will come from AI. However, it's our responsibility, just like any other piece of technology that we have, to have ethical standards in how we do that, right? But we also need to look at AI in a different type of light, where we leverage this innovative technology to further create more immersive and powerful experiences that our users can enjoy. Hence, our unique feature on our platform of the CBT technology.
Trademarked.
There you go, trademarked. Again, being able to integrate this AI piece, it's no longer just a photo that you're looking at. It's no longer just a video where you can see a deceased loved one or a piece of content you've left for someone. Now it's something that you can actually engage with, that will not only be able to recite data, information about that particular individual, but also learn with you, as the new AI capabilities have. So the AI itself, that digital avatar, will grow with the user.
Yeah,
and that's the one of the most fascinating parts.
I think the users understand the more information we feed it,
right,
the more we are ourselves with this AI, with this technology, with our app. At the end of the day, the more I give it, the more I tell it, the more it will reflect who we really are today. So that when maybe my avatar gets asked a question, or a granddaughter or a grandson says, what should I do? As scary as that may seem, it will, up to a certain degree, give them an answer that I would have probably given them if I were still there.
Exactly.
And I think that's the power of what we're trying to do.
And that's what we strive to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the powerful aspect of it, and it will differentiate us from anyone else. Now, I'd like to touch on another point. So, the importance of curating, your digital legacy with intention, and how Reekolect will help out with that. I do want to say that from a design perspective, the Reekolect app is designed to be hyper-focused on the family unit, on the experience itself, life itself, that journey. And I think what's very important about that is that every single design screen on the Reekolect app has been purposely and intentionally designed to help you with that process. A couple other features, like our digital family tree, that again, our CBT technology allows you to have a digital family tree that you can select from this family tree and then start that process and going down. So what I'm saying is that eventually it will be an intuitive flow that will all lean towards bringing everything all together into memory preservation. Now, what are your thoughts about that, about the flow, about the overall app itself?
I think the way we look at it right now in social media, everything we do is by our friends, the people we want in our circle, and everything, our coworkers, anything like that. And I think what we're trying to do is more of the family unit,
right?
Extended family, anything that we do that now becomes part of our day-to-day activities, our memories, our future legacy. And I think that's what's powerful about it. The fact that we can go to that app, and not only do I see my information, but my family members.
Right.
And we can interact with that. And the way that that's preserved, the way that that's then brought back when you have questions, when you have memories that you want to look at again and all that. I think that's what's different about what we do.
I agree.
It's not just for everybody, but it's more personal. It's more of who we are and what we want others to see us for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And something else to point out about the app itself, our developers, the way they've designed is for everything to be collaborative. So what I mean by that is that as you create and leverage our CBT technology to have these conversations beyond time, as you leverage our digital family tree, as you leverage the posting and connections and all of that, it's all collaborative, meaning that if you can create albums where a particular experience happens.
What if there's a family member I don't like too much?
Well, then you can X them out, just don't tell them, but you can X them out, but, but absolutely.
We all, but that's an interesting, part of the discussion, because when we have these family trees, you're closer to some than others.
Very
and that's
true.
not necessarily about, and I know that's a joke, Xing them out, but it's being able to maybe build stronger relationships with some of those that you don't see as often, or they're further away.
Exactly.
And I think what our app is trying to do is just, hey, I don't see that person enough, but they're part now of our family, and they can now participate more with what we do, which things that on social media we would not have maybe put out there.
I agree.
But through our app and those that are part of our family in the app, now we can share those experiences.
And that's a phenomenal point, right? The goal also of the app is to bring families closer. Not only change the way we're capturing, as I mentioned before, about just wanting likes and comments and views, but a genuine connection and an experience that was had perhaps at the same time. So as you're building your family tree, as you're developing this content together, and on the app, we have these smart connections that are going on in between the app, you might be able to meet a long lost cousin that you've never met before, where you made an excellent point. This is what I want to communicate about that, is that where social media may even sometimes encourage sort of a separation, right? Because you're living a certain way, perhaps your cousin's not that way, but on the Reekolect app, when we're focusing on the memories, your heritage, your lineage, your history as a family tree, now we're encouraging on the Reekolect app that connection. And I think that's very powerful, because that'll expand your ability to understand who's who, where do I come from, where are we going, who do I have? And those are all questions that I think
and I think everything we do today in society with social media, with the digital things that we have all around us, like we talked about at the beginning, not even reading books, but everything is digital. I think a lot of times you hear we've changed a lot. Right. Families don't eat together. Everybody eats separately. You don't sit at the dinner table. A lot of conversations used to be had like that. And I think what we're trying to do is take this powerful technology, this powerful way of keeping memories, and finding ways to bring families back together in a way that serves a purpose bigger than just an app.
Absolutely.
It's a way to really unite them. It's a way for them to start sharing and breaking down those digital barriers while living in a digital world. And I think that's something that we have strived to do as a company. And I think that's one of the reasons that the CBT and everything else that we're working with is powerful. And it's our way of bringing back a family to a world in a much more elevated space because of what digital offers us right now.
Agreed. Very profound. Very profound. And on that last topic about real world scenarios and how our app is helping out, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm guilty of this, and I'm sure our audience is guilty of this as well, where you sit down with your family. I know I sit down with my wife and my 3 boys, and sometimes, whether it be a restaurant or somewhere else, we're caught up in everyone's on their device.
Right.
Now, yeah, the kids may be looking at cartoons or some sort of, animation. One kid's looking into another platform. I'm looking into business. Wife's looking into so on. And again, to my point of there's hyperconnectivity. We're all connected with FaceTime, with email, with phone calls, all of this. But we're more separate than ever. We're disconnected. Right. And that's where the Reekolect app, its intentions is to bring that back, that family unit, come closer together. Think about preserving the moments that you are together, the moments that you really do enjoy, and being able to capture in that way, not only for yourself, not only for your family, but for the generations to come.
Yeah, and going back to how we preserve things, when it used to be photos, when it used to be, we were capturing a moment. And that's what we look at to think of all those memories, graduations, weddings, birthday parties, all that. If that's what we do right now, or we have done in the past, to always look at that, that should be something we're living in the present.
I agree.
And I think, to your point, that's what our app is trying to do. That's what our company is trying to do.
Exactly.
It's trying to bring this social world into something that doesn't become a distraction, but becomes an enhancer to our everyday life.
Agreed. Well said. Well said. Absolutely. So let's touch on a couple controversial topics, JC. Let's go into some of them. So,
well, I'm actually having a relationship right now with an AI. No, just
I knew it. But let's talk a little bit about digital immortality. All right. So let's discuss a little bit about whether preserving a digital legacy crosses into the territory of digital immortality. And let's explore some of the ethical implications. So I believe what I would say about that is, when we're discussing digital immortality, how responsible should we be as individuals go on the Reekolect app and begin to put their content in there with the intentions of ensuring that it's preserved not only for their immediate family, but for future generations? What are some of the questions that revolve around having that responsibility as a company?
I think we even have to look at it in a different light. I think right now, digital immortality is there. Everything we're doing is being preserved.
Agreed.
Every email we send, every photo we take, every text we send, every post we do. So whether we want to or not, it's being done for us. And when we pass, who's going to determine how that's going to be curated, for lack of a better word, or deleted, or passed on, or information taken from it? And I think what we're trying to do is empower the user to dictate how that legacy, how that digital immortality will look for the rest of the world.
Exactly.
So it's not about a question of should we, or what's going to happen with it. It's a question about letting us control it.
Exactly.
Don't let anybody else do it, but let ourselves be the ones that dictate how that digital immortality looks to the rest of the world.
Absolutely, and an excellent point. And I think also, as a company, we have to look into, as a corporation, we have to look at our own responsibility of having our users that trust us, and the privacy implications that go into that as well. And that's something that we want to always hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards as possible, ensuring that we have not only a secure and private network where people can trust and rely on and be the standard of being able to have those memories in there. And as a company, from the beginning, though AI is going in all different types of directions, very unrestricted, and we're seeing some sort of regulations on it now, again, Reekolect as a corporation wants to ensure that we have those highest standards and ensure that we can instill confidence and be known as a brand that's trustworthy into that. So I think that's also very important to highlight. Let's also discuss now the permanence of digital footprints, right? Regarding implications of having your digital content preserved forever, and the balance between memory preservation and privacy, which touches a little bit, I think, a little deeper into what we just discussed.
Yeah, we just spoke about.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think at the end of the day, the privacy part, the more control you have on it, the better it is. And I think a lot of times when we sign all these agreements, when we log into all these applications, we're giving that away.
We are.
And we have to do it so that we can continue to live in this digital world. But I think at the end of the day, it's how we dictate it to ourselves, how we want that to be preserved, and what we're going to do to be able to do that. And I think with Reekolect, it allows us, based on what we're setting in place, a way to tell that story. So I think that's important. And to your point, it is more of a walled platform than all these social medias, with that purpose, to be able to control what we put into it, so we also control what comes out of it.
Excellent. Yeah, no, excellent point. Absolutely. And that's what I think. Again, going back to the focus on privacy, it has to constantly be there. And I think that that's where, when social media first started, it was such a wild, wild west type of style of just kind of putting whatever it is. Now, when you go to a refined platform like ours, which is, again, a social preservation network, again, the privacy is a key element of it, so that you can restrict and dictate what type of access the world has to that. So very important.
I think also, when we may not have it on our thing to discuss today, but it comes to mind now, we are creating a digital avatar of ourselves based on everything we feed it. And I think it's important for the user to understand that even though we're talking about preservation and something that's there for our future family members, it's something that we want to be able to work with it now. How do I want my avatar to look like? How do I want it to speak to my family members? And the more involved I become with the app right now, the more involved and more information I feed the CBT technology, the more I'm going to be able to dictate how that's going to look to the world.
Exactly.
So instead of leaving it to the AI completely, I can now work with that AI to make sure that what it leaves behind is something I'm happy with.
Absolutely. Which is an excellent transition into the role of AI in shaping these digital legacies. So I want to explain a little bit more about the app and what the AI is doing. So as users input the information that's going in, audio files, videos, and photos, what the AI is doing is, aside from just not only reconstructing a visual aspect of it, an audio that will sound exactly like the individual as we extract sound from the content that's being put in there, but it's also an aspect of bringing it all together. And it's such an important role in ensuring that, again, we have the most natural experience and interaction with a particular digital avatar, right? I know there's a lot of products right now that you can see that difference. You can see that disconnect between something that's just really answering back to you in a visual versus what our platform does and what the Reekolect app does. It truly is, the AI is learning from the individual. So it's studying all the information that you've provided it. It's reconstructing it, being able to speak in the same way, look in the same way. However, the interaction part, that's where it feels as natural and organic as is possible, where the machine is learning. It is learning from you. It's learning from the interactions. It will learn your jokes. It will learn what type of profile it should have. And again, to JC's point, very important, the more you're on the Reekolect app and the more data and the more content that you're providing to the digital avatar, the more exact replica it will be.
Yeah, and I think that's important because we tend to look at, those of us that are religious, we pray to a God and, for advice and for help and for all this. And a lot of times if we've had, deceased members in our family that we were close to and we would ask for advice, a lot of times, you're like, what would he do or what would she do? How would they help me tackle this? And I think that's where our app can be powerful.
Yes.
It's not just a question and answer. We want to get it to the point where you feed it enough information that, not that somebody will make decisions, because I think we have to be very careful with that, but that somebody can at least be consoled or sort of being given some type of comfort in knowing how I would have potentially answered something or felt about something based on what I've already fed into this AI. And I think that's where we're very powerful with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very powerful. So let's go ahead and recap what we discussed. I know we touched on a lot, but
trademark.
There you go. Trademark.
CBT trademark. If you take anything away from the podcast, That's the one.
We're going to get you. But, just kind of recapping on what we've discussed. So far, we've discussed how the Reekolect app differentiates itself from a social media platforms that is out there, it being a social preservation network, first of its kind. Then our CBT technology, not only how it works, but how it's important, as well as some of the ethical standards that we should have and we should take into consideration, especially when it comes to a question of privacy, and how it's so important to instill that confidence into our user, which Reekolect, again, will take full accountability and will step up to the plate to really be that standard for the world in a global aspect. And aside from that, what we also want to immediately encourage our audience and viewers to think about is think about your own digital legacy. Truly sit down and think after this episode and say, what am I doing? What does my accounts look like? Do I really have a platform where I can put the real me, not just a superficial side of me that's successful or that does X, Y, and Z or whatever it is? Where can I really be my organic, true, and genuine self? And we want to let you know that Reekolect is definitely that app for you to be able to do that. JC, anything else that you'd like to close with?
I think at the end of the day, that digital legacy, it's going to be there. That immortality is going to be there. It's being created as we speak by apps and by programs and by software that we're not even aware with sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that we tell our users, we're going to provide a solution that we can take control of that. I can go in, I can dictate what that avatar is going to look like, what memories I want to be brought back when somebody asks or thinks about me, and really tell my story. I don't want somebody else to tell it for me.
Agreed.
And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Very powerful. Very powerful. Absolutely. Well, we want to thank the audience. Thank you so much again for joining us in this second episode. We do want to let you know in the following episodes, we'll be bringing on all different types of guests that will be coming in to discuss some different aspects and elements of AI and as well as memory preservation. So please stay tuned. Till then, thank you so much for joining us and hope all of you have a great day.
And keep those digital memories going.
There you go.